Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZS Caravallo from ZK Research, and I'm joined today by a very special guest. I'm joined by Kenton Olson. You are the VP of Digital and Emerging Media with the Seattle Seahawks. And so that's a very long title. Can you just get into a little bit of what that job exactly entails and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So in my current role right now, I get a chance to work with two talented teams. So one is our digital content team. So they oversee all kind of the editorial content we see. So everything on our social media channels, the articles, photo galleries, et cetera, that you'll see on our website and mobile app. And then I also oversee what we call our digital platforms team. And so they oversee all of our owned and operated platforms. So that's our website, our mobile app, email, SMS, et cetera. Kind of the platforms that we kind of own the audience and have to maintain that group overseas. So I get to work with both those individuals to, really work with every different group here internally to kind of, distribute the message we need to, as well as, build our fan base and engage the 12s.
Yeah, well, that's a big job. And the 12s, of course, is your fan base being I think you were the Seahawks were the first team to retire the number 12 in honor of the fan. And so I actually remember that from when I was a kid. So that's it's good that you're always bringing everything back to them. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about AWS, Amazon Web Services. The Seahawks have had a long history with them. And of course, AWS also works with the NFL. And I think, as we've all seen on TV, when you think about AWS and the NFL, next gen stats, comes to mind. And so can you talk about how AWS has helped the NFL with its on-field product and what the latest initiative for the Seahawks is what you're doing there to change post-game coverage?
Yeah, I think it's really awesome that AWS just does so much for the league and a team that does so much that I can't speak to all of it in that sense. We have, some really talented groups here internally that are using it more for the football side. I focus more on kind of the fan content side, and how we're using it right now is, I'll say AWS in general is really the best way I kind of describe it is kind of, it's in a way, it's like our toolbox to get whatever it is we need to get done, right? And so that's everything from how do we stream a live video, to how do we get a transcription, to how do we use Gen AI to provide some various summaries, how do we transcode a video. It just kind of provides us this really robust toolkit that we can use to make sure we're able to publish more content to our fans, and as well as reduce the time it takes for us to, say, create a piece of content and actually get it published out to our fans, which is great.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is when I watch the games and I see the next gen stats, it gives me a lot of information during the game. This latest iteration of the work you're doing with AWS is to change post-game coverage, right, of which there's a lot of information there. And so can you talk a little bit about that initiative and what motivated that change?
Yeah, I think a little background. We have a really talented video team here internally that they have really some tremendous artists that create, well over 1,000 videos that we distribute to our fans throughout the course of the year. And, the way our kind of workflow now is, a creator will create the video and then they'll kind of hand it off to our content team. And that content team is then, responsible for distributing it to all the various places it needs to go, right? Obviously, it depends a little bit on video length and that type of stuff. But on average, we were seeing over the course of the year that, it wasn't unheard of for us to spend up to 30 minutes just to get a video that's already been edited. It doesn't even include all the time it takes to edit the video, to get that video published to all the various things. It also required us to use one of our teammates here internally to check the right boxes and do the right things and do a lot of quality assurance and do a lot of things. So it was a very monotonous process. And so heading into this season, we said, let's, improve our operational efficiency to improve that and allow our content team to focus more on finding new ways to be creative, less times on doing some more of maybe the more monotonous tasks. And so as we kind of set out in the process, AWS was just a huge piece of what we did. Everything from, in the past, we'd have to make sure the video was the right dimensions and the right resolution and all that type of stuff. That's all been automated now. We use AWS Transcribe to provide all the transcriptions that we provide for various different outputs. And then a big piece for it was, we were really excited and we saw for, AWS Bedrock and what it allowed us to do. And so we worked with a great team to kind of put together a step of this process that takes a video, analyzes the video, and provides basically a summary of the video, which allows us to do a couple things. One is it, does it faster than a human can do it in most cases. Two is it also provides a much more detailed and rich description, right? In the past, it wasn't uncommon for our descriptions to maybe be a sentence or two. Now we can get a 3 or 4 sentence with time code marks and everything to put on that video. So when a fan wants to know what they're watching, they can jump right to the part of the video they're interested in, as well as it'll help our fans kind of find the videos they're looking for. If they're looking for a very specific moment, they'll be able to search for that because it's now available as metadata that the various search platforms have. So that whole distributed process for kind of distributing those things was a huge benefit for us because again, it allows our team to kind of focus on some other things that are a little bit more exciting, a little more impactful for our fans, but then also just improves what we're able to offer to our fans and get it to more people faster.
All right, Kenton. So thanks for that description. Now, every sport deals with a lot of data. I think most people would think of the NFL as, the biggest sport with the most data sources. So talk a little bit about within the context of your job, all the disparate data sources that you have to deal with, and how did you think about bringing those together?
Yeah, I mean, just in the byproduct that, my title has got digital media, pretty much everything digital has some sort of data component to it. It could be as simple as we sent out, this post on X and be able to find out how many people viewed it, how many people clicked on it, etc., all the way to our platforms team, works really close with our business strategy analytics team to how do we make sure we're delivering emails to the right people at the right time that people, are we're looking to reach, right? So there's all those different ways, and basically everything we do produces some sort of data. And so for us, it's important, and we work really closely with some other departments internally to ingest all that data, but then making sure we're using the data that ultimately makes the most sense for what we're trying to improve, and we're not, using data that maybe doesn't have the most relevance to what we're trying to do at a given point in time.
Yeah, and so with the introduction of AI, obviously short circuits a lot of the work required to go through that data. Can you talk a little bit about pre-AI, what that process was like, and what did that process entail, and how people heavy was it?
Yeah, so again, talking a little bit, I'll preface too. I think the process I overviewed before. That's kind of like in my group here, kind of our first step, and we're really excited to apply it to more and more stuff in the future. But that process I outlined before, as I mentioned before, could take 30-ish minutes and required someone to sit down there and type and watch the video. And there's a lot of opportunities for, unintentional human error, from a typo to a name misspelling to clicking the wrong box or not uploading the right file size, whatever it is. What we're able to do with this system now is take that, shrink that time down. So when our video team distributes us, hey, here's a video, we're able to shrink that down to, I'd say in the worst case scenario, we can get it out in say 10 minutes. So, cutting that time to publish in third, as well as just providing more rich information, what we can do with that video. We're also distributing that video to more places than we've ever done before. So we've shrunken the time to publish, we're distributing to more places and providing more rich content information to our fans as we progress. And again, we're starting right now with kind of just a small subset. And part of that is as we learn about AI is, every piece of content's a little bit different, right? So we're focused right now a lot on media availability and press conferences that have kind of a way that they're constructed. So we've trained our prompts and done our AI models to make sure that it really understands that. The next piece we want to do is podcasts, which is just a little bit different. And then soon we'll do some of our longer form video shows. How do we kind of manipulate those or improve those, I would say, to kind of make sure they're catered to what we need. And that's what we love about using Bedrock so far, is that we're not, we're not stuck with one AI model, right? I mean, it's,
Right, right.
a repository of tons of them. And it changes so fast that, yeah, we're using one now, but for all I know, as we've been sitting here, someone released one that can do something better or offer us more tools. And for us, we can very easily, probably within 5-10 minutes, go in there and click a few boxes, update a couple of few configurations, and boom, we're now using this new model and can improve it. So really exciting just to see how we can do that and manipulate things moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think there is some debate in the industry about which model to use, and I think it's I think one of the things Amazon has done with Bedrock is it's a recognition that there's not one model that will rule them all, right? And different models have different strengths. And how important was that to you?
Yeah, I mean, that was super important. I think it's probably one of those things where it's like you could probably get to some level of use out of any AI model that we use, but having the ability to make sure we're getting the best one and we're getting the most, and we were able to experiment with a couple of different models that we kind of identified as A, they were just stronger in general in what we're looking to do, but then B, we were able to really work with those models and learn them and inform them to make better outputs.
Now, when it comes to AI too, there's really no shortage of possibilities of what you could do with it, right? And so I'm curious as to what are some of the other time-consuming or manually burdensome tasks that you're thinking AI can help with?
Yeah, so I think there's, gosh, we could probably talk for like another hour for various things that we've kind of talked about over time. I think one thing, we've kind of brainstormed, with our partner at AWS and our video team is, we're celebrating next year will be our 50th season. And so we've got literally 50 years of footage. A lot of it's been digitized already, but that's great that if there's some video file that's from 1983, but we don't really know what's on it. We don't know what was said. So one thing, I think, we're going to find some time to experiment with here is how do we deploy AI to look at all that video, determining what's on it. So if we're saying, hey, we want to do a video on Brandon Mebane, a defensive player that played for us a couple years ago, we can just quickly go in there and be able to query all that information and be able to get to that video much faster so we can create some more compelling stuff. Right now, it requires a lot of institutional knowledge to say, maybe that video producer remembers producing something, whatever, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it's nowhere like kind of on a thing you can kind of go and look. And you also just don't know what you have, right? You don't realize maybe when someone said something in a press conference a year and a half ago that that's going to have some relevance now. So we're really excited to eventually be able to kind of deploy AI in that visual analysis, provide some more data around the videos itself. I think, other pieces that we're certainly look at doing are just, how do we kind of automate some, for our platforms team, how are we able to automate some of the various, more, I guess you would say, coding type problems we have in terms of someone's maybe coding an email or someone's coding something in particular. How can we use the AI models to just, again, improve their efficiency? And so, again, we're looking at it as how do we get these tools to benefit and improve what we can do, not necessarily to replace a human or do anything along those lines. How do we just become much more operationally efficient?
Yeah, it's funny you brought up 83. I think that was the first year the Seahawks actually made the playoffs. So
Yep.
and, yeah,
Big win over the Dolphins that year.
Yeah, that's right. And then they lost the Raiders in the championship, right?
Yep.
As a kid, I remember that. So that was good.
Yep.
Now, from a fan perspective, and obviously I'm a big fan of the game, what can I expect to see from the Seahawks and more broadly the NFL as to how AI is going to change my experience in interacting with the league?
I think what you'll see over time, I think this will apply to both us and the NFL. I think, we're both working on different projects, but it's just going to provide you with the ability to obtain more information that you're ultimately looking to get. So I think AWS Stats is a great example. It wasn't that long ago where no one really knew how fast guys were playing. And right now, like our social team, they're like, oh, that player broke 20 miles an hour, and we know that's really fast. That was a data point we didn't have just a few years ago, right? And so you're able to provide a lot more context. And so that's just an example of what, the next gen stats are doing us. And I think too, just being able to uncover just the history and a lot of the stuff we're doing historically is going to be a huge benefit. Allow us to at least bubble up more content, tell more compelling stories, and do things that are a little bit more unique. And then for us in particular, hopefully we're able to actually get content to fans a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and just a couple more questions, Ken, and for the other CIOs or other digital executives that may be out there, when there's obviously AI is a massive world, right? How important is it to have a partner like AWS that actually, eat, lives, and breathes this stuff all day long?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important that, anyone that kind of jumps into AI has a really great partner to just kind of be someone that can kind of be there as you kind of are on your journey and customize it. Because, again, I don't even know off the top of my head how many models are available on Bedrock. But, if we just went about it and did it ourselves and just used this great tool, like we'd probably still be sitting there today trying to figure out which model to use. But by working with a partner that really understands the pros and cons, it was really beneficial for us to kind of be able to get going a little bit quicker. And then two, it's just helpful to kind of think about things in a unique, different way. I have no, I have no reason to believe that our team doesn't get more proficient with using AI tools moving forward. But as it is new, using some really talented individuals and experts such as AWS to kind of ideate and kind of move things forward is hugely impactful for us, and they've been a tremendous partner for us.
Yeah, and any other advice you'd like to give maybe some of your peers across other industries and how to get moving forward with AI initiatives?
Yeah, I think I would say sometimes there's a little bit of what is the now I always mess it up, but sometimes there's a little bit of paralysis by analysis where there's just so much to take in and you have so much you want to do. I think it's just important just to start experimenting in whatever way it is that you can, right? You need to make sure you do so in a responsible way, but even if it's just like saying, hey, let's use AI to help us write something or use AI to help us solve a coding problem, get started and get people comfortable of what it can do and how it's something to help you. It's not something to maybe replace you. I think that's been helpful. I think again, we're just very early on in our journey, but right now the questions we're getting inside of our team is, oh, can we get it to do this or can we do that? It's just changing things because they've seen what it's capable of doing and how flexible it is. And so I would just say experiment, try some stuff out, certainly do so in a way that, you can kind of experiment and it's okay to fail in some particular areas, but just making sure you're just trying new things. Don't get too scared about making it too perfect out of the gate because there's just so much you can do. And frankly, there's so much of things that people don't know what it can do. And I think it's about learning those is a huge piece.
Yeah, well, that's great advice, and I've said the same thing to people. It's not AI that's going to take your job; it's the person that embraces AI that's going to take
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
job. So, well, I just want to wrap this up with a little bit of fun. You've said you've been in the Seahawks now almost 2 decades. Do you have a favorite player or a favorite moment in Seahawks history that you'd like to mention?
Oh boy. Let's do favorites. Let's do favorite player. I've always loved Michael Bennett. As someone who played high school football and played some defensive line, I always just really respected his game, but just him as a person and just his personality and what he was able to bring to the team on and off the field, I think was truly something remarkable. And we're excited that he's still, a huge part of our Legends community and have him be a part of our organization. In terms of moments. I mean, Beastquake is hard not to pick that one. I think that's the top
Yeah,
NFL moment of all time. But if I had to maybe pick one that was a little bit different, um, I would say it was, um, it was I forget which year it was, but the 2012 year, and that was kind of the first year before we actually won the Super Bowl that we were starting to win games and we were winning so like really convincingly. And so we had a little bit of a stretch there where we were just dominating some people by a good margin. And just everyone kind of didn't think, oh, I just can't keep going. This can't keep going. And we just rattled off, I can't remember, 3 or 4 games in a row. We won by 40 points. And it's like, this is, I think at the time, the youngest team in the NFL, and they're just playing so well. And seeing all of those different players come together and kind of come into their own was super cool.
yeah, yeah. And for me, I grew up in Victoria, BC, so I grew up a big Seahawks fan as a kid. I'll never forget the period of time in the mid to late 80s when the Seahawks went from really a perennial losing team to a team that became a perennial playoff contender. They had a few ups and downs years between then and the Super Bowl era, obviously, but I thought those were the years that really put Seattle on the map as a legitimate playoff team, and I thought that was notable for a city that loved football but just never had the winner to go root for. But then after that, they did. So that was I think maybe a couple of really seminal years in Seahawks history. So
yeah, 2012 was just kind of like a pivotal moment in turning that. It was just so fun. Unfortunately, a couple of remarkable plays by the Falcons in the playoffs this year is maybe why we didn't go to our first one that year, at least of that stretch. But it was just such a fun year and being a part of that ride and ascension.
All right, Kenton Olson, I certainly appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the season, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what comes out of the NFL and the Seattle Seahawks from an AI perspective.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, so on behalf of Kenton Olson from the Seattle Seahawks and Zias Caravallo from ZK Research Scene, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast.